o'clock. It's actually 9:01. And welcome this morning, guys. Thank you for everyone joining us here on the panel, and then also our audience here this morning. My name is Raphael, and I am the 2021 Global Business Council Chair for the Royal Palm Coast Realtor Association. So welcome to Connecting the Dots to a Successful Foreign Transaction. As many of you today have received your email, and in your email, you're going to find the agenda, also some slides that was prepared that you can be able to follow along and you can be able to have for your keeping, and then also an international outlook for our international buyers here in Florida. And it's really going to break down exactly the different buyers that are internationally. Not only that particular guide is 41 pages, but it gives us an insight of who our buyers are, and also for our Florida U.S. buyers, where they're buying in other countries. So today we have a dynamic platform of professionals here that's going to be able to share with you the tips and tricks and the secrets of who to call, why to call, and how to make sure that you're going to have a successful transaction. So I know many of you, if you're on this call here today, you are either an entry-level global practitioner, or you are actually very seasoned, but you want to be able to see what else is innovative, what's new, anything has changed, and then also get to know our panelists and maybe perhaps give them a call when you need them. So without further ado, it is National Donut Day. Look, the light is so bright you can't even see it. It's Dunkin' Donuts, guys. So I'm not sure if you guys have your own donuts or not, but I stopped and ran over to Dunkin' Donuts today, and they're doing with a drink, you get a free donut. So it is National Donut Day, and we're going to see if we have Alex the baker. He is actually supposed to be on the call, and I know there was some technical difficulties. You know, there we go with technology. That's kind of some of the things that we have to deal with in today's world, but neither here nor there, it brings the world together. So if we do not have Isabella on our call to be able to introduce our French baker, that's okay. We're going to go ahead and start rolling with our program this morning. So everybody grab your agenda really quick, and let's go over that really quick so you can know exactly who we're going to have, and take your pen and paper and take lots of notes. So we're going to kick it off with our lenders. Then we're going to have our accounting specialists, title companies. Also, our attorney is going to speak to us about immigration, and then also our currency exchange. And because this is a webinar, feel free, type in your questions in the Q&A, and then that way we can be able to answer it. Because it is totally packed today, we only have an hour and a half. We're going to go ahead and stay over just a little longer. For those who want to jump off at 10:30, feel free to do so. If not, if you have more questions, our panelists are going to stick around for another 10-15 minutes and be able to answer your questions. But with that said, you also have in your packet all of our panelists' contact information, so you can feel free to just reach out to them. So without further ado, because I do not see Isabella on here today, which is okay, because we have a lot to cover today. So we're going to go ahead and get started just a little bit sooner then. We're going to get started with our lender. We have RBC Bank Mortgage Solutions with Alan. He's going to introduce himself, and I'm going to do a share screen so that way we're going to follow his PowerPoint this morning. If you want to unmute yourself, Alan, that'd be awesome, and you can go ahead and introduce yourself.
All right, Q, thank you so much for this opportunity this morning, and good morning, everyone. Happy Friday. I'd like again, Q, to congratulate you for such a global leadership, and thank you again for having me, and thank you to RPCRA GBC, for this opportunity to share some cultural insights about Canadians and how RBC Bank can help you to grow your business with Canadians. So it's all about Canada for the next 10 minutes. So on the next slide, I'd like just to bring to you, of course, who we are. And first, who I am. I'm a director of business development for the US for RBC Bank. I've been with RBC for 43 years, actually next week, and worked in 3 different countries. I just do a lot of educational content and educational opportunity like this morning to give you some edge, some insight, some knowledge about how you can grow your business with Canadians. And of course, we know that Canadians were not there last year because of the pandemic, but I'll share with you some very exciting news about Canadians getting ready to re-enter this buying market, especially in the Florida market. So with that, I do have my real estate license for 7 years in Florida, and I'm on the southeast side. However, I cover the entire US for RBC Bank. And also I am a CIPS designated from NAR. So with that said, RBC, RBC is the biggest brand in Canada. So it's the biggest brand and the biggest bank. And we do have about 16 million clients in Canada. And Canada population, as you know, is about 37 million. So we have a whole share of the banking business in Canada. In the US, RBC Bank is a cross-border bank for Canadians who have the cross-border lifestyle. And we are a residential national lender just for Canadians. So we can help Canadians to get US financing anywhere in the 50 states. And we are also dedicated to help real estate professionals like you all to grow your business with Canada. And we were very proud in 2020 to be one of the 3 top global business partners of Florida Realtor, including, of course, the other ones like Consul General of Canada and Money Corp that we're going to hear soon. On the next slide, I'd like to share some of the numbers that some of you might be familiar already. However, it speaks volume about Canadians. As you know, Canadians have been the international buyers in the top 2 in the last 12 years, and NAR is tracking the international transactions. And pre-pandemic, Canadians purchased 9.5 billion of real estate, residential real estate, including half of it, 50% of that, 4.75 billion in Florida. And we know Southwest Florida is a prime destination for Canadians. And this represents about 18,300 residential purchases by Canadians for an average purchase price of $517,000. So this is important to understand now that during the pandemic, a lot of Canadians sold their properties because they were unable to come down here, enjoy Florida during the winter, like many of them are doing, or they simply hold on it and just refi using their US home equity to bring some money back in Canada, because with the value, increased value and the lower Canadian dollar last year, they took advantage of that. However, the good news is in the last few months, since I will say January, February, we have experienced a record number of mortgage requests, mortgage leads, pre-approvals from Canadians. And yes, the border is still closed. However, they start to look at the post-pandemic or when the border will reopen. We've seen Canadians buying in the last few months, yes, in Florida. However, I can tell you that a lot of them are holding now their pre-approval letters, and they are getting ready to re-enter the buying market in Florida, because many of them who were supposed to buy last year, they just hold on that and really wait for better time. And now they see the light at the end of the tunnel. So on the next slide, I'd like to really bring an important issue for Canadians when they look at buying a US property is obviously the currency exchange. And I know we're going to cover that topic later on with Money Corp. However, I just want to give you a highlight about the Canadian currency. Last year, about a year ago, we were at 70 cents or like 43% exchange, which was horrible, but we know why. However, the good news is right now, currently for the last couple of weeks, we are experiencing the highest value of the Canadian dollar to US dollar since about 4 years now. So right now it's about 82, 83 cents, which means it's about 22 to 24% premium, which is much better than 42% premium like last year. So the good news is for Canadians right now, this is the right time from a Canadian currency standpoint to the US. And as you can see, our economists are showing here what they expect. Unfortunately, they expect that the Canadian dollar will weaken a little bit at the end of this year and for next year to go more around the 75 cents, which is actually more like in the 32% exchange. So right now, the right time from a currency standpoint. On the next slide is just to show you what is the impact on that one. It's an illustration on that slide. Sorry, the next one, if you can, please. All right, thank you. And this is really the average purchase price, as we said before, for $500,000 if Canadians are buying cash right now. And we took an average rate over the last year. So we went from 70 cents to 82, like I said, 82, 83 right now. So we took an average of 76 cents just to show you how important the currency is impacting in the transaction. So from a global standpoint, and for you working with Canadians, it's important to understand the currency exchange in that situation, because as you can see there, it will cost them $160,000 more if they pay cash, because obviously they don't have US dollar. They're going to pay from Canadian dollar exchange to US with an average of that rate. However, if they finance with a US mortgage with RBC Bank, they will have only to provide the 20% down from Canadian dollar to US with the exchange and the closing cost, of course, and the down payment of 20%, which the exchange will come around just shy of $150,000. So at purchase, they can save $124,000 Canadian for $500,000 purchase. Obviously, they will have a mortgage to repay monthly principal and interest, but over 3 years, 5 years, 7 years, 10 years. So this is why they're going to average their cost. And remember that for Canadians, they don't know that, but all mortgages in the US from us are open mortgage. So if the Canadian dollar goes back in 2-3 years to 95 cents or to $1 at par with US dollar, they can repay without any prepayment penalty. So I'd just like to keep moving on the next slide. Just an overview, quick overview of the solutions we can provide to Canadians. And remember, we're the most competitive offering from a lender standpoint to Canadians, because we qualify Canadians from their credit story in Canada, assets, income, debt. So we are used to work with Canadians. Our mortgage professionals are only working with Canadians for their mortgage. So this is why we have competitive rate right now, like 3 years is 2 3/4, and for a 10-year term for a second home, it will be 3 3/4. So those rates are low, very low historically speaking. So this is for a primary or secondary home when we request 20% down for any type of products you see there. Our terms are 3, 5, 7, 10 years, but all amortized over 30 years. And there is no cost when they renew their term, their mortgage at the end of the 5-year, 7-year, or 10-year. We don't charge, closing costs at that time. We just renew for them. We can refinance, of course, cash out mortgage, and we can provide home equity line of credit if they own upright. And we don't charge a premium, obviously, because we only work with Canadians, and they can get the pre-approval. On the right side is just to show that we are a residential lender just for Canadians. However, we don't provide commercial, like, let's say, residential lending. So for example, if they want to buy 4, 5, 6 investment properties, unfortunately, we're not a fit. However, if they want to buy a second home or one investment property, it will require 25% down, and the rate will be about 1% more than what I quoted, but the rest is all good. So this is really quick overview. And the next slide is just, again, a summary that why considering RBC Bank for Canadians is just because, really, like I said, we qualify them from the credit story in Canada. We provide financing in all the states, of course, mainly Florida for a good part of our business. And we are dedicated from our mortgage advisor to help them each step of the way. For example, in Canada, it takes 7 to 10 days to get a mortgage from application to closing. While in the US, we know it takes more 30 to 45 days. And in this competitive market, it is important for them to understand how this play out, because they don't know everything they should know about the way we do US mortgage. So it is important to educate them. So that's the thing we do from the get-go when we start to work with them. And of course, we don't ever charge a foreign national premium. The next slide is just to show you, something that we developed and we're very proud of. It's a digital platform to provide tools, resources, and educational content to you as real estate professionals and for your Canadian clients. Everything that you have access in what we call our Edge website is digital, so you can repurpose in your social media, all that. It's free. You can sign up at rbc.com/edge. The other one is for the Canadian real estate professionals. So in the US, we use the first link that you see there, and helps you to better understand Canadians, have access to calculators. And the next slide will show you the tools and resources that we have for you. We developed this for specifically for real estate professionals to better understand all the tools, resources that can help you to do more business with Canadians. And as you can see, the calculators, they can get a link here to be pre-approved quickly, or to, if they have a purchase contract, to get straight to their application online digital. And the good news is, even if the border is closed, they can work with us remotely from anywhere in Canada. And also the closing, we can do a mail away closing for them with a notary or an attorney in Canada to facilitate that, so they don't have to come down here to do the closing. On the middle part, just very important, you know that our Canadians have a lot of questions and issues on legal tax estate to own properties in the US and buy properties. So we have a network of trusted external legal tax experts who can provide a courtesy consultation when the client is referred by RBC. And this has helped Canadians to better understand how they should own the property, what are the considerations if they rent the property, or all of the legal tax estate related with owning US assets. And the last slide, just to end with that, is just to show you that with this competitive market, you can expect Canadians to be back in the market very soon. They are getting ready, and they have their pre-approval, or if you come across one who is looking to do that, it's good for 120 days. It's a pre-approval. It's not a pre-qualification. So it takes about 2 to 3 days. It's very easy. It's stated for 5 quick questions. And then when they get the letter, they can work with you to find their dream home under the sun in Southwest Florida. So with that, and if they want to speak with one of our dedicated cross-border mortgage specialists, that's the number. And my contact information is on the next slide if you need anything else specifically to help you. I don't work client's file. However, if you need some additional assistance and all that, I mean, you can reach out to me because of the great relationship we have with you all in the Southwest Florida real estate community. Again, thank you for the opportunity, and all the best to grow your business with Canadians. Thank you, Q.
Thank you so much, Alan, for that very quick, brief, but very impactful information. I am sure that our members love the information, and they can be able to give you a call. So as soon as the borders open up, I know it's going to be mad. So without further ado, our next panelist is going to be Christine. Christine is with Paul International Consultants, and she's going to speak about different products that they have. Go ahead, Christine.
First of all, thank you very much, everybody. Hold on, let me put this on here. So perfect. Do you see everything all right? Good. Okay, my name is Kirsten Paul from Paul International Consultants, and I am basically referring to Alan's, thank you very much, speech. Alan takes care of the Canadians. That's perfect because that's the only nationality that we would love to refer. So here we go. We on the other side, we are specialized in financing international clients since more than 25 years. We started with German-speaking clients. I'm German myself. And now we offer financing and consulting to all nationalities all over the world in the entire United States, but for real estate in the US. Nevertheless, our home market is Florida. And we are very happy because this is where the music plays. You know, 20% of the international business is taking place right here, right now. So we are absolutely in the right fit. A third of our clients is coming from Europe with the focus on German-speaking countries. A third is coming from Asia with focus on China, and a third is coming from South America. Basically, and then we cover all the countries with our multilingual staff. We work independently and have offices in the US and in Europe, and we'll open the next one we're working on this right now in Brazil, taking account to all of our clients coming from there. We are available, and whoever worked with us before knows you can call us day or night, we are on. So all time zones, basically from China to California. So try us and find out. We speak all type of languages. I only speak English and German, but we have multilingual staff that will be happy to consult not only you, but your clients. So they reach, and Alan knows how important that is, all of you know, to reach a comfort level. It's not about if you speak English, it's to understand the terminology, to feel comfort, to make this a pleasant transaction. And we also hold our forms like the inquiry form, templates, etc., in even more than 8 languages ready for your clients. We have a unique portfolio of about 100 more or less lenders, all US lenders, institutional lenders, and private lenders for the ones that are looking for niche products. I will tell you a little bit later about that one. So first of all, basically to cover the scenarios, we do purchase, we do new construction. We are like a preferred lender for Lennar, D.R. Horton, and other developers. We can offer construction, permanent loans, which is a big deal right now, especially in Southwest Florida. Rate and term refis, cash out refis, and that is something that really should take special attention on your end, because right now people who are already invested in Florida and paid cash for properties that are free and clear have the option to do a cash out refi. We offer that up to 65 LTV. And take those funds and reinvest it in real estate or use it for any other purpose, but for you to reinvest it and basically act like cash buyers if they want to do this. So that's a very nice feature. We offer this with stated income. We can cross collateral, difficult word, there you go. Blanket loans we can offer, and that is on a case by case, even vacant lands and commercial loans. So for these, please present the scenario. Everything else we can do on a daily basis. The more we know about your clients, the more information we have about the client and the property, the more precise we can quote and give program parameters. Before that, we have a little bit more in general, and the more we know about them, that's why we send an inquiry form at the very beginning to gather some information, the better we can do the consulting. Right now, and Q gave us this as a briefing. So what changed in times like we are experiencing right now to the international borrowers? And what can you do and what should you pay attention to? So the first one, you see it in line 1, is timing, timing, timing. So international clients work differently, as you know, like domestic buyers who are local, because especially the last 12, 15 months, people could not travel. They all stay in the most countries' home. So the contract time periods, the time frames need to be different. So please consult or talk to us before or while you're doing and working on your contracts, and to figure out the timings that makes most sense. Ellen referred to a time frame 30, 45 days, I think, for the transaction. Once submitted, we can close within 30 days with some good and fast loan programs, but there are others that take here and there a little bit more time, simply due to the fact, not only because appraisals take a little bit longer, but also because embassies are still closed in many countries. Some of them require apostils, etc. So let's be flexible. We have, if it's really in a rush, no-doc loans that can close within, let's say, 2 weeks. But in general, this is what you should count, 30 to 45 days. Sourcing and seasoning of funds is a very essential keyword here. So as soon as you have or contact to your international buyers, encourage them to place funds that they will use for the transaction, if possible, on one account or only on a few accounts, with not too many transactions on, because all of these are going to raise questions and might pull some more documentation afterwards. So that's a main thing that we are asking for. Make sure that the people making the deposits are the persons also to be on the loan. If you have clients that are currently in the US or will be coming to the US, please encourage them to open an account with any US bank, preferably who offers online banking. But this is something that is much easier than if they are in their home country. Open their LLC. I'm pretty sure we're going to hear something about this a little bit later on, for tax ID numbers, etc. Get the pre-approval as early as possible, if possible, before people travel. Okay, so we have the inquiry form we sent out. You can go on our website, paul-international.net. It's online there in German, English, Spanish, Portuguese, and if you want it in Mandarin, it's there in Mandarin, I guess, too. So we have it in PDF files in more languages. So please have us send you those, forward it to your clients. We issue this within 1 business day, along with some first calculations, fee sheets, and program parameters that would fit on that scenario on that client. Keep in mind that construction loans, and I would love to go more in detail, but due to the time, which I forgot to start running here, we have construction loans, and we just closed one. It was a full doc loan for 2.5%, which is the lowest rate I've ever closed on for a construction loan on international clients. Usually I would say 3, 4, 5% range, depending how much time the client has and how much documentation he can and wants to show. So, but we can offer that up to 70%, but they always have to be on private title. They can switch the title later on. We have lenders that do allow that basically after closing. But the best is, for the best consultation, have clients get in touch with us as early as possible. What documentation is required? I'm not going to stop too long here. Basically, we offer full doc, we offer low doc, and we offer no doc. And all the sample letters and templates that are optional, we can give away in their home language. Pre-approval, Alan basically covered it over here as well. Please get the pre-approval as early as possible. We issue it really fast, along with some very helpful calculations, etc. We explain everything to the client in the language. So the client is well prepared. You know what properties and what price range to look at. And also we find this a very, especially in these times, a very strong psychological tool to have clients sitting in Germany, Brazil, or somewhere else in the world, that they hold already something in their hands saying, hey, you are already pre-approved for purchasing real estate in the United States. So that's an additional tool for motivation to keep them going. Yeah, Alan said basically they're valid for 120 days. So we refresh them as often as the clients need them. The same after 90 days, we ask for an updated information just to stay current. This is our currently most popular loan program. We have many, many more, but this is something I just wanted to give you an idea about. Low documentation requirements, no income required. No reference letters required, no reserve account required. We can go up to 75 LTV. We can offer 65% on cash outs. We have ARMs and we have fixed rates. You can waive principal payments to make it an interest only. You can even waive escrow payments if you want to. Gift funds are allowed. Clients can purchase on a private title or on the corporate title, and they can close without being locally, but this has to be accompanied with an apostille in case the embassy is still closed. So we have other lending programs that offer just notary, simply to a German notary, for example, but we will send those out once we have a little bit more information about the clients. To summarize it, why using us for your international services? Basically, we are available in all time zones. We speak the languages. We know our business because international clients is all we do. From the very beginning, since more than 25 years, our lenders are specialized in working with international clients. So if a program is too complicated or too difficult or too challenging or not proven, we don't use it. Okay. So we prepare all the sample calculations and everything, explain everything in the languages. We hold, by the way, a very close communication with you as the agent. At least once a week, we send updates. We are very transparent, so everybody's informed, everybody knows where we stand, and get this comfort level in this difficult time, so everybody knows what's going on and what the progress and the next steps is. Speak to you on a daily basis. We help with all the other services if needed, like getting insurance, opening accounts, getting translations done, etc. And just to round it up on the last slide, what is the advantage for financing in the US or versus financing in the home country or versus paying cash? Number one, you get independent advice, just like your attorney or CPA, you hear it with a broad range of available programs. Then keep your liquidity for the clients because they might need more funds to get their yacht, to buy something in addition, another property, more furniture, etc. So cash is king. They need to maintain the liquidity, especially if it's their first investment in the US. And they sometimes don't know how high they can finance. So 75% is a very high LTV for a different country. They can afford most times more than they thought originally. And Alan already mentioned it. It's lowering the potential risk of with a currency exchange. Well, we have other speakers later on that they can state specifically on this very, very important fact. Closing costs, interest payments, we'll hear from Elky, I guess, can be deducted also from the taxable rental income. We have lower payments than often expected due to the 30-year amortization and making this an interest-only program if needed. And if the client plans to move to the US and will have Social Security one day, they can use this in building a credit score in the United States. So basically, this was it from my side. Thank you so very much. I hope I made it in time.
Thank you so much, Christine, for that information. Everyone, you have her information. I know that you can feel the passion. You know that she is definitely about her business. So feel free to reach out to her. I know we have several questions in our chat. Because of time, we're going to do those questions at the very end. So bear with us, please. But just go ahead and continue on putting those questions into the chat. So then next we have our accounting services. So we're going to go to FERPTA Solution, and Julie is going to speak about FERPTA Solutions. Can you stop share screen, Christine? Thank you.
Can you hear me, Q?
We can hear you.
Okay, perfect. Okay, sorry to be off topic, but you look fabulous today. I wanted someone to tell you that. So, good morning, everybody. My name is Julie Lepore, and I'm the director of FERPTA Solutions. We're an accounting firm based out of Cape Coral, Florida. However, we don't do generalized accounting at our office. We only provide FERPTA-related tax services. So, I-10s, EINs, withholding certificates, remittance forms. We also work on really hard cases that went awry. We've been able to fix some of those. So when FERPTA transactions are handled properly, the process can be really smooth, but when it goes wrong, it can be really devastating. And when it goes wrong, it's usually because somebody in the transaction that was responsible or spearheading those efforts didn't really know about FERPTA. So for me, my personal passion in regards to FERPTA is always going to be about education. I feel like the more you know, the better you are. And as real estate agents, you're always wanting to add tools into your toolbox to be a really successful real estate agent. So today, in my true fashion, I am going to give you a very condensed 5-minute version. In fact, I'm going to try to explain FERPTA in 5 slides because I feel like we probably have a really good mix of global practitioners this morning. In fact, for some of you, this may be the first time you're hearing about FERPTA, which is pretty scary in itself. So just to get started here, oops. Back in the late 70s, there was a large number of investments that were being made in the US, and US investors were paying their fair share of capital gains tax, but the foreign investors were taking advantage of loopholes in our tax system. So to level out the playing field, the IRS came up with the Foreign Investment and Real Property Tax Act, which of course we know to be considered FERPTA. So with FERPTA enforcing a withholding tax at the time of sale, there was finally a mechanism in place to force foreign investors to file returns and pay their fair share of taxes. So it's really important to understand that a withholding tax is a tax that gets paid to the government by the payer of the income instead of the receiver of the income. And of course, in a real estate transaction, you have a buyer who pays a seller for their property. And so for this reason, FERPTA tax laws usually require or consider the buyer to be the withholding agent. So they make the buyer the responsible party. And as the responsible party, buyers have to determine if their seller is foreign or not. And if they are, the buyers have to determine how much has to be withheld, determine if there's any exceptions, and then timely remit those funds to the IRS to avoid any type of penalty. The rate of withholding used to be 10%, but with the PATH Act in 2016, it was increased to 15%. But there is still a 10% threshold, which we're going to talk about here in a second. But first, let's understand who a foreign person is. So a foreign person, because we really don't care about FERPTA unless our seller is foreign. So a foreign person is defined as a non-resident alien individual, foreign corporation, a foreign partnership, foreign trust, foreign estate, where in contrast, a US person would be like a US citizen or a US resident or a partnership or corporation that was formed in the US. It does not include resident aliens. And one of the things that I encounter a lot in my business is that there seems to be a lot of confusion between who is a US person and who is a foreign person. So especially when it comes to resident aliens, because there's different ways that you can be considered a resident for US tax purposes, and then you wouldn't be subject to the withholding. So helping people to understand what their residency is one of the things that we offer here. You would be surprised at how many sellers don't know. One of my favorite stories is I had a guy call and he said, "Hey, I'm selling a property and they're taking 15% from my proceeds. What's going on here? I thought I was US, but I don't know." And I said, "Okay, well, where were you born?" And he said, "I was born in Texas." And I said, "Texas, the state, the US state of Texas?" And he said, "Yeah." And I said, "Okay, well, did you give up your citizenship or, why do you think you're foreign?" And he said, "Well, I've been living in Hong Kong for the last 30 years. So I don't know if at some point I just become foreign, when I sell real estate here." So even people that are natural born citizens don't know if they're foreign or not when it comes to FERPTA, which is really crazy. So thankfully, the IRS provides an easy way for us to find out if our seller is foreign or not, as far as FERPTA goes. The IRS recommends that the buyer request written certification from the seller stating whether or not they're a foreign person or that they're not a foreign person. The certification has to include the seller's name, their US tax ID number, their address, a statement that they're not foreign, and it has to be signed under penalty of perjury. Buyers are instructed to keep this document in their records for a period of 5 years. And then when a seller is not able to make this sworn statement, in theory, that's how a buyer knows to withhold. So if you think about it, every seller is either foreign or they're not. So they can either provide a statement like this or they can't. And I like to call this the golden ticket of FERPTA, if you will, right? It's our get out of jail free card, because if we have this in our records and we have no reason to believe that the seller is lying, then we're allowed to rely on this in whole. And as the buyer of that property, I don't have to withhold because the seller is swearing to me in writing that he's not foreign. So not being foreign is actually considered an exception to FERPTA, which I think a lot of people don't understand, that being US, let that sink in for a second. Being a US person, not being foreign, is an exception to FERPTA. And another exception would be a withholding certificate. So withholding certificates are kind of cool. It's an application that the seller makes, and it gives us an opportunity to show the IRS how much profit they're making on the sale, if any. And then instead of withholding, instead of submitting a percentage of the sales price, we only have to submit a percentage of the profit. So in this example, someone's selling this property, they're only making $9,700 on the sale from a tax perspective. And so we can either send $70,000 to the IRS as an estimated tax payment, or we can just send in a reduced amount. Now, the problem with this process is that it requires the seller to make an application before the sale, and then we have to wait for the IRS to respond. So this money, this $70,000, the full amount always has to be retained in escrow. But when the IRS responds to the application and they tell us what amount they really want to be paid as an estimated tax payment, then we can just send in that amount. This process, this withholding certificate process, used to take 90 days. But sadly, because of COVID, the processing times have been severely increased. So if you're lucky enough to submit an application and have it be approved before the closing, then we would only have to withhold the reduced amount at the time of sale. Otherwise, like I said, the amount has to be kept in escrow. In order for the funds to stay in escrow, the seller has to notify the buyer in writing that they've made an application like this, and there has to be proof that the application was made no later than the actual date of transfer. So if the application gets mailed after, unfortunately, those funds have to be sent to the IRS. They cannot remain in escrow. And also this option for your sellers is not automatic. It has to be agreed to by all the parties. I'll show you the real estate contract in a minute to help prove that point. So there are several exceptions to FERPTA. Obviously, I'm not going to be able to cover them all today. Many of them you're not going to encounter in your day-to-day business as a real estate agent, but there is one that comes up all the time, and it has to do with the buyer and how they're going to use the property. So according to irs.gov, a buyer does not have to withhold if they acquire the property for use as a residence. The amount realized does not exceed more than $300,000. The buyer or their immediate family members must have definite plans to reside at the property a minimum of 50% of the total occupied days. And then also, when you count the days that the property is vacant, you don't have to consider that. So there's a lot of confusion in regards to this exception, because people think, oh, well, you know, my buyer can't take advantage of this exception because this isn't going to be their primary residence, or it's not going to qualify for homestead, or they're not going to live in it 6 months and 1 day. And the code doesn't really require that. It's just how many days is that property going to be occupied, and looking at those days that the property is going to be occupied, how many days is the buyer or their immediate family member actually going to be using the property? Because as long as it's 50% of those days, it would be considered personal use and they can take advantage of this. Now, if the selling price happens to be over $300,000, then as long as it doesn't exceed, as long as it's less than $1 million, then it can be 10%. And of course, when it comes to this exception, you really want to refer the client to their attorney or a trusted tax advisor, because relying on this exception does come with some liability. And so you want to make sure that your clients understand exactly what they're getting into. So FERPTA can be really complicated. It can be really complicated, or it could be handled really easily. The choice is really yours, but there are definitely some things that we can do to make the process a little bit easier. The first thing that I recommend is literally to consider that FERPTA applies to every transaction until it's proven that it's not. we have a little passion project going on over here at our company where we started a hashtag, and it's hashtag FERPTA first. And it's literally just the concept that every transaction is subject to FERPTA until it's determined that it's not. Either the seller is not foreign, or there's an exception, or the buyer's going to reside, or whatever the situation is. But we really need to think about FERPTA at the start of every transaction instead of waiting until the last minute. The other thing is that if FERPTA is required, we really need to get those details sorted out really early on in the contract. If you're a listing agent, I recommend that you talk about FERPTA at all of your listing appointments. Have a page in your listing presentation where you're mentioning FERPTA or talking about FERPTA. That way you know if it needs to go to the next level. Also, I think it's really important that you familiarize yourself with the contract. I get that there are different contracts in different communities, but Florida does have a standard contract and an as-is contract. And there is an entire section devoted to FERPTA where there are some contractual obligations that have to be talked about. You know, if you've got a seller that wants to apply for a withholding certificate, that's great, but the buyer has to agree that those funds can stay in escrow per the contract. So those are conversations that have to be had to make sure everyone's on the same page. I also really feel like keeping the lines of communication open and updating everybody every step of the way through the entire transaction is critical. Providing regular updates in regards to the application. So, you know, if you're working with a buyer and you find out that your seller is foreign and FERPTA does apply, that's fine. But how are we going to do this? What are we going to do? What's the plan? Who are they working with? Are they taking action? Are they not taking action? Whose responsibility is it to, you know, who's going to be handling the FERPTA in this transaction? It's really important to understand that. And then to finally making sure that you are working with tax professionals that really understand FERPTA. At our company, we're not a greedy company, so we're not an all or nothing kind of company. We work with tax professionals, tax attorneys all across the nation. And you just kind of, you assume that they, that because they're a tax attorney or because they're, you know, a CPA, that they automatically have to know everything that there is about all the tax codes. But FERPTA is a really specialized area. And if it's not something that you're doing on a daily, day in, day out basis, it's hard to keep up to date with all of the rules, the regulations, the processes. And, you know, I always say that you would never go to your primary care physician and ask them to perform brain surgery, just like you would never go to your brain surgeon and ask them to help you with your high cholesterol. You know, you have to go to the professionals in those areas that can help you through that transaction and have a proven track record. So these are my best tips and tricks that I think that you can adopt into your regime. And I think that if we can do these kinds of things and we can start thinking about FERPTA first at the start of every transaction, then I feel like some of the problems that we encounter when we're talking about FERPTA, when we're doing FERPTA transactions, can be eliminated. So I just wanted to thank you for the opportunity to speak today. And I hope that I brought some good information to our listeners today. Thank you, Q.
Thank you, Julie. I know that was a lot of information to try to give in a short period of time, but we're going to go ahead and continue on moving. I know we're falling behind time right now, and I hope that you all have a few more minutes that you can be able to stay over. But respect out of all of our other panelists, time and effort, we want to go ahead and continue on moving forward. We have Elky with Allure International Tax Consulting, and she's going to give you a little bit more detail about FERPTA.
So give me one second here. Can you see me?
We can see you, yes.
Give me a second. Okay, I have the presentation over. Give me a second. Share screen. Why is this not working here? Can you see? What can you see?
We just see the share screen.
Okay.
We're not actually able to see if you have a PowerPoint up or not.
I have the PowerPoint up. What's going on here? Why is this not working?
Are you able to go through your presentation and then we can share your PowerPoint with the attendees?
So I have the presentation open here.
Okay.
Square, okay, give me a second. Screen share is paused, stop pause. Can you see something here now?
We can see you.
We can see me, at least me. So. Again. I have the presentation open. I can see it here.
But it's okay. You can go ahead and just go through your presentation. And then if you would like for the attendees to have it, they can have it, but they have your contact information in their agenda form.
Give me a second. Give me 1 second. Q, do you have your email open? Can I send it to you really quick?
Why don't we do this? You can send it to me, and then why don't we go on to our next panelist, because then I'll have to pull it up and things of that nature.
Okay, yeah, appreciate it. Okay.
Yeah, let's do that. So we're going to go ahead and move on.
I apologize. I don't know what's going on here right now. Okay, appreciate it.
And then we're going to move forward to our title companies. So next we have Dennis with Sun National Title Company, and he's going to share some information in regards to title for us.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. Can everyone hear me?
We can hear you, and we can see.
All right. Hang on for 1 second. Oh, wrong one. All right, so title is kind of boring, and when you guys get to the point where you're dealing with us, there's not a whole lot different dealing with a foreign transaction than a U.S. transaction. So the first thing that we're going to talk about is buyers. That's my dog, Jake. And what is really important to deal with when you have a buyer, particularly a foreign buyer, is that they take title correctly. You want to make sure that they're putting taking title in the name of a corporation or a trust or a natural person, because it's very easy to get into title. I could put my dog Jake into title. What I can't do is get my dog Jake out of title. So particularly when you're dealing with foreign people, you want to make sure that they are taking title correctly. All right. Some of the things that you can do for buyers now that you used to not be able to do is have them sign via DocuSign or a remote online closing. This has made this quite a bit easier, particularly with the pandemic. They don't have to go get things notarized at an embassy anymore. That has just made life a lot easier, particularly for global clients. One of the other things that we do now that didn't used to happen is accept Bitcoin for a transaction. Bitcoin is, a hot topic in the financial markets. People seem to have it. It's pretty volatile. It goes way up and way down, and there's always people moving in and out of it. And it is a great way to acquire clients that you may not have. Closing and disbursement is normal and typical for a buyer, just as it is normally, whether they're global or they're not global. And we do recording and possession the same way. So we're going to move on to sellers. What can you do to make your seller side a little bit easier? In certain cases, on cash deals, they can do RON closings. Again, no embassy visits needed. A lot of our documents can be signed via DocuSign, and that just makes this transaction a lot easier. If there's a mortgage involved, that's going to be a little more problematic, and it's going to be up to the lender whether they will accept a remote online notary for their closing package. A lot of lenders won't, but there are some who will. So you need to figure that out ahead of time. Probably the biggest thing when dealing with a foreign seller is to actually do a little due diligence on the actual seller themselves. Fraud is very prevalent. There are a lot of bad actors out there that are going out to look for properties on LIPA and other different websites. You want to actually make sure that when you're dealing with a foreign seller that they actually own the property. As an agent, you should probably do a little due diligence, make sure that you're talking to them on the phone, make sure they have ID, make sure that mail is going to the address that is on record with the Lee County property appraiser. Anytime that you see somebody saying that they're not at the address where they're supposed to get the mail, that can be a huge red flag. There's a lot of fraud out there, and foreign sellers are targeted very easily. You don't want to end up in one of those transactions. And moving on, for agents, this is pretty simple. You just want to deal with us. And that's about all I got.
Thank you so much, Dennis. I'm laughing at the dog pictures. So we love it. Thank you so much. All right, so moving on, we're going to go with Wingfoot title, and we have Chris Black that is going to share some information about their company with us. Chris?
Good morning. Good morning, everybody. Thanks again for having us. Thanks for Q for putting this on, and for Julie over at Purpose Solutions for reaching out to us and asking us to be a part. I will concur with all of the elements of Dennis's presentation, except that last one. I got to give a shout out for our company as well. So, but absolutely, I had the kind of the same note. So I'll just kind of riff a bit off of what he said. The first one is what I called an identity crisis. You got to make sure that your clients are who they say they are, just like Dennis referenced. Couple red flags to be aware of are, web originated leads. So somebody emails you from a Zillow thing or whatever and says, hey, I'd like you to sell my vacant lot in Lehigh, whatever. As Dennis mentioned, if they only communicate via email and refuse to talk to you by phone or through video chat, it's another red flag that it's probably not the same person who's listed as the owner of record. And then another red flag that we see quite a bit in these situations is if they're really pushy, right? If they won't take no for an answer, or if they continue to push and say, oh, well, and threaten you basically, hey, if you don't want to close it, that's okay. We'll move on to somebody else. Don't give in to that kind of stuff. Just hold your ground and do the right thing. And make sure that you're validating or doing the best you can to validate that they are who they say they are. I also had signing logistics on for dealing with foreign buyers. Cash buyers are pretty easy. Signing electronically is acceptable nowadays. Loans are a different matter, just like Dennis mentioned. That is going to require some pretty significant coordination if somebody is abroad. And the coordination is similar to a seller in that, you're going to have notarization in some way. And you're going to have to get them documents. So from an agent's perspective, for me, it's one of the things I preach all the time is just expectation setting. You want to make sure that your client's expectations are set properly. So what do they need to do, or what do they need to be prepared for? And if your buyer is abroad or foreign and getting a loan, well, they're going to have to deal with 100 pages of documents to sign. Some of which have to be notarized. So maybe that includes printing those documents, or being able to receive those documents via some expedited delivery in a timely fashion. So all those things go into kind of preparing for the closing. Sellers, it used to be, and we heard some of the panelists before talk about embassy requirements. It used to be kind of standard operating procedure in our space that a deed, especially a deed, would have to be notarized at an embassy, an American embassy, wherever your clients are. One of the silver linings of the pandemic was for us anyway, and for most of us in our industry, was the greater acceptance of remote online notarization. So most of the underwriters in our space will accept, I think all probably at this point, will accept remote online notarization instead of your seller having to go to an embassy or even a local notary wherever they might be. A couple things on the remote online notarization, that the client has to be able to use video conferencing, right? That's how it works. It's basically like notarization via Zoom. Every RON vendor has its own little interface, but that's basically how it works. So if you're dealing with a client who doesn't have that capacity, well, don't recommend or say, oh yeah, we can do it via RON or remote online notarization, because that's not going to work for them. You're going to have to come up with something else. One more thing on the remote online notarization, the clients either need to speak English or they need to have somebody on the call, the video call with them, who can translate for them. None of the remote online notarization vendors that we've dealt with have offered translation services as part of the remote online notarization interface. So, sometimes it causes an issue. So again, signing abroad is kind of a pain because it causes some logistical issues. And I talked about it before. Just make sure that they know what to expect when signing and even returning the documents. So if it's remote online notarization, we get that back electronically. That's no problem. Again, electronic signing is no problem. But if they are having to send back hard copies of documents, we need to make sure that we're planning accordingly from the very beginning about what they can do, what they're able to do, depending on where they are. And what services are available to them. So maybe it's not FedEx, maybe it's DHL or whatever the international providers are, but it's good to know that stuff in advance as much as possible so that it doesn't cause delays in funding. And Dennis talked about money too. I wrote down just kind of follow the money. The buyers need to be prepared to wire funds from wherever they are. So this is kind of an offshoot of the topic, but if it's an American client or a US based client who's traveling abroad, that can cause an issue because many times people are required to wire funds via in-person transactions, right? It is, it's not uncommon that we see people not able to do it electronically or via their web-based banking to send a wire transfer. So they need to make sure that before they travel, that they know what their bank requires when it comes to wiring funds. And then Dennis talked about address matching. It's also very important to, and again, this goes back to the identity issue, is that the information on any seller proceeds forms, which is our instructions from the sellers where we want to, where they want us to send the money, that information needs to match, right? So we can't have, Mary and Joe Smith being the sellers and then some Russian name being the account holder, right, of the receiving bank. That is, again, one of those red flags where we would hesitate and not send funds to that sort of account because it's likely a fraudulent request. So the accounts to which we will be wiring need to match the names and even addresses of the owners of record. And then the other thing about wires is that sometimes people don't anticipate the costs associated with international wiring. Sometimes it costs us more, sometimes it costs them more to send the wire. So just something to be aware of to kind of add to your conversation, your expectation setting with your clients, that there may be a tiny bit of extra cost, relatively speaking, tiny, associated with that. So again, I think that covers it. Title's pretty boring, like Dennis said, and there's nothing really from a title perspective, technically, that jumps out as issues, but it's mostly these kind of in the trenches logistical issues that people don't anticipate, that cause the most problems for us and them and you guys. So hopefully that's helpful.
Yes, it was, Dennis. Although you may think that title is not that interesting, but for us on the other side, and for our buyers and sellers, it is. And you have all the knowledge and expertise. So thank you both for sharing about title. So next we're going to go ahead and move on to our attorney, and that is Don Gonzalez. And he is going to be speaking to us in regards to immigration and maybe some other logistics in regards to the Attorney International platform. So where is Don on here? There you are.
I'm here.
I couldn't find your name. Your name was my name.
Okay, I'm sorry. Well, hey, call me Q. Call me Q.
That's all right. Okay, so do you have your slide, or you may pull the slide?
Okay, I'm going to hopefully not have a problem. Share screen. Figures that would already start to be a problem. Okay. Screw that. I'm just going to go ahead and do it live.
Well,
oh, you got it. Great. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Yes. Am I able to control it now?
No, but you can. I'm going to follow along with you as you talk, and you can tell me, in the next slide, and I will move it on.
You're sweet. You're sweet. Okay, let me just check the time. 10:08. Let's do 15 minutes. Okay, what we're going to talk about here is immigration for international buyers. What we're trying to tell the audience is there are ways to obtain long-term visas, possibly green cards, for anybody that invests in real estate from certain countries. Here is our contact information. The most important one on that screen is our WhatsApp number, 954-488-3380. We're constantly on the move. If anybody needs any help, they just write to me, and I promise we will get back in touch with them as soon as possible. Next. Okay, foreign investment for this little talk will include real estate, mostly, condominiums, houses, land, commercial property like strip malls and other things like that, as well as business opportunities. Those are your nail salons, gas stations, laundromats. All of those correctly organized can be used for immigration purposes for foreign clients. Next, please. Okay, so when we're dealing with a foreign national, and again, this is a very brief overview we're giving. We normally give a 3-hour continuing education class on this for 3 hours, but we're going to just try to talk very quickly for 15 minutes. whenever you're dealing with a foreign national, you always want to make sure that they are presently legal inside of the country, okay? Everything we talk about does not apply for somebody whose status has already expired, or for somebody who came in illegally through the Rio Grande or whatever, okay? So I've only learned of 2 ways to come into the country legally with entry documentation. One is called the Visa Waiver Program, or the ESTA program. Certain countries have the privilege of having good relations with the US, that citizens from those countries merely come in with a passport. They do not have a valid visa on their passport, and they are given 90 days of entry. They're allowed to visit Mickey Mouse, do whatever they want, but they're also allowed to do certain limited amount of business transactions. The more common way that foreign nationals enter into the United States is through a B2 tourist visa. Those are formal visas given to an individual at a US embassy outside of the United States. Now, the visa that I'm restricting this little conversation is for those investors that may be interested in buying, selling, and developing real estate, where they buy at least, hopefully, 3 properties from our real estate professionals. They will be eligible for the E2 Treaty Investor Visa. It is a special visa for individuals that come from a country that has a treaty of investment with the United States. Next. Here I tried to show you as quickly as possible, hopefully you'll be able to see them all, the various countries that have this treaty of investment with the United States. You'll have to pardon me, I focus mostly on the Spanish-speaking countries because that's where most of our clients come from here in South Florida. But Canada is also on the list, okay? And there are many more. You just have to see if you have clients from those countries that have this treaty of investment with the United States. Those type of clients, if we sell them real estate, can be eligible for this E2 Treaty Investor Visa. Okay, what are the requirements very quickly for this E2 Treaty Investor Visa? First, there must be a substantial investment. What that means, I don't know what it means, okay? But what I do know that it means is that the investment can be cash or debt instruments. So previously, you heard discussions of getting foreign investors to mortgage or buy property using mortgages. These mortgages can be used as part of their investment. That's why real estate is so good. Usually, as they stated, 25% down. The rest can be mortgaged, but for immigration purposes, we can show the entire value as being the investment. The next, there is no specific dollar amount for this visa category. I don't know how else to really say it. There's not a specific dollar amount. The more, the better, okay? And the smallest amount that I have done has been $30,000 for a tennis professional that we created a tennis academy for them. And they were able to fund everything with $30,000. But usually we like to see an investment of 100 and beyond. Again, that can be in a restaurant, that can be in real estate, that can be creating their own company. We go on a case-by-case basis to try to determine the amount that makes us feel comfortable that we're going to win the case. The next requirement is that the investment cannot be marginal. What that means, I'm really not too sure. But what I do know that it means is that the investment, sooner than later, after about a year or so, must be able to provide funds, not only to the investor, but to future employees in the future. That's why this visa category is so good. You know, you don't need to have the employees immediately like an L1A. You can just, what counts here is the money being deposited or the money being invested. The investment must be sufficient to hire employees in the future, and hopefully it'll create some cash flow. The investment must be in an active business enterprise, okay? Must be active in a trade or rendering of services. Speculation will not work. And this particular visa category will cover not only the investor, but the investor's legally wedded spouse, okay, along with their children under the age of 21, okay? The legally wedded spouse will get an independent work authorization, which is another avenue or strategy for us to use for long-term immigration purposes. Now, I play around with the term legally wedded spouse because, again, we deal predominantly with South American countries, Spanish-speaking countries to be exact, and they have certain laws in their countries that allow for what we call here common law wives or common law husbands. That type of relationship does not fit the mold for immigration. They must be legally wedded with a ceremony and registration of some sort. We've had clients from Saudi Arabia sometimes come, and they're in their countries, they're allowed to marry more than one wife at a time. And they were actually trying to see if all the wives could be included in this category. Well, no, I'm sorry. You know, and I looked it up though. I actually looked it up and got the legal opinion for them, but nope, sorry, only one. And it must be the wife that went through the legal process of marriage, we'll just say, both in their country, and the marriage must be recognized here in the United States. It must have the same formalities as ours here. Next. Oops, okay, so the basic strategy, and as an introduction, I forgot to say, unfortunately, I'm an attorney. As you can tell by the gray hairs, we've been doing this for 30 years. We do tax, corporate, and immigration law, very focused on the international investor, and se habla español. Just kidding around, but I come from Colombian roots, so you know we all speak Spanish here. The typical strategy that is used is, first, we want to advise our clients as much as possible to do their investment process through a corporate entity, okay? The reason for that is reduction of taxes and to protect asset protection planning, and we'll just say liability protection. Once we create the company, then you get the tax ID number relatively quickly. It depends. Now they're taking somewhere about 2 months when we send it in to the international department at the IRS. But once we get the ID number, we open up the bank account for them in the corporate name. There will be no problems with that. Some banks don't allow personal bank accounts for foreign nationals. That's not an issue. Then they can start buying the real estate in the corporate name, and that will be the vehicle to use for the immigration purposes. The company buys the real estate, then we're ready for the next phase, which is immigration services. Next. So that's me again. I'm Don Gonzalez. Our main office is in Weston, Florida, commonly known as Westonsuela over here. We also have an office in Orlando with another brother who is also an attorney. There is our app number. We do request that anybody that needs to speak to us please write first. That is a dedicated private line strictly for WhatsApp purposes, and we have no idea who's calling us. So that's it. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak with you all. And well, I'm glad to say that I finished in 12 minutes. I still have 3 minutes left, so I think I'll sing you a song or something. Just kidding, just kidding.
No, I thank you so much. So much great information. Thank you again. So we're going to go ahead and move into our currency exchange. And with our currency exchange, we're going to introduce to you Money Corp with Kelly, and she's going to talk about currency exchange.
Awesome. Good morning. And I might just use your 3 extra minutes because I have 7 minutes to tell you everything that you need to know about currency exchange and international money transfers. So I'll do my best, but the great news is we also have David here who will come in after myself. So if I've missed anything out, hopefully David can bring it home. So thank you, Q, so much for having me here today. As mentioned, my name is Kelly Cutchin, and I am the country manager for Money Corp here in the United States. I have been with Money Corp now for 15 years. So I have had the privilege of working with many partners just like yourselves, both here domestically as well as around the world. And I've also had the privilege of helping customers from around the world buy and sell real estate everywhere that you can imagine. I am the former chairperson of the Global Real Estate Council here in Orlando, where I continue to stay heavily involved there, trying to make sure that the local agents are as educated as possible on how to successfully deal with international clients. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. Just briefly about Money Corp. We are actually a UK-based company. We were established in 1979. We put an office out here in the States back in 2006 when I joined the company. Now we have global operations, but we did $48 billion worth of foreign transactions last year in over 120 different currency pairs. And we're regulated everywhere that we need to be regulated. Everywhere that we do business, we are very regulated and licensed appropriately. We are actually licensed in all 50 states here in the United States as well. So if you are dealing with Americans looking to purchase internationally, we can help with them as well. And very exciting, along with Elaine at RBC, Money Corp was recognized as a top global business partner by Florida Realtors. So working with us, just rest assured that you're working with a trusted company who is also recognized by Florida Realtors. We're heavily involved with NAR as well. So I teach alongside of many of the CIPS instructors when they get to the portion of currency exchange and international transactions, because surprisingly in the CIPS course, currency exchange is only talked about for a couple of pages, when in actuality, it's a really important topic. So they often invite us in to elaborate a bit more and educate their students. So again, just wanted to visually show you that Money Corp does have strategic offices around the world. And actually we need to shade in that portion where it says USA, because Money Corp now has operations in Canada, which we're really excited about. Working with Money Corp, I think the most important thing for you to know is that it is actually really easy for your clients to work with us, and it's really easy for you as partners to work with Money Corp as well. The account opening process takes less than 5 minutes for your clients. There's an easy online account opening process. But also know that we provide various webinars for both partners and clients alike to keep them abreast of currency exchange fluctuations and other just important topics that are relative to buying real estate around the globe and others as well. We do provide market updates and daily exchange rates. So if you are interested in having a snapshot of what the exchange rates are every day, I'll flash my contact information at the end. Just let me know and we'll make sure to get you registered for those. And then of course, if you do want to know even more about the currency exchange markets, just know that that information is readily available. You can sign up for our daily market updates, our weekly updates, and again, just other information that's available through our website if you're kind of nerdy or want to know more about currency exchange, like myself. Also, it's important that realtors sort of separate themselves from the competition, right? And we feel like this is one way for you to be able to do that. We offer iframes. This would be a way for you to provide currency exchange information directly on your website. This way, again, if a client is clicking around on the internet, they can see that this information is available there. Also, it's worth mentioning that our services are not only available for clients that are doing real estate transactions. We can do currency exchange and international transfers for any needs. So because of our audience here, we're obviously going to talk a lot about buying and selling real estate around the world, but people use our services to get married abroad, to send payments to friends and family overseas, to buy luxury goods, etc. So if there's an international payment requirement, just know that we are able to assist with that. All right, so moving along into some nuts and bolts of this. Why would somebody use a currency exchange specialist versus their bank? First and foremost, banks charge, as some of our speakers previously mentioned, international wire fees, but the banks actually make the majority of their profit on the actual margin or the spread on the exchange rate that they're selling the currency to your customers at. With Money Corp, we have local accounts in the jurisdiction where your customer resides, so they will not need to pay international transfer fees. They can simply do a domestic transfer into our local currency account. And most importantly, it's the actual exchange rate itself. So we offer extremely competitive rates of exchange. Moreover, every customer is allocated a personal currency exchange dealer. This is somebody that can help your customer navigate the transaction, somebody helping to look after your client's best interest and making sure that they get the best rate of exchange within the time period that they're working with. And we can help your clients target a rate, right? So we can help, again, to make sure they get that rate that they're looking for, but we can also lock into an exchange rate for up to 2 years. And I'll talk briefly about that more in a moment. So I've just got a visual example for you here. We've got Heidi from Germany. She's buying a property in Florida for $300,000. If she just goes to her bank to do that transaction, she may get a rate of around 1.16, which means that that $300,000 property is going to cost her 258,000 euros. If she uses a currency exchange broker, she'll get a rate much closer to 1.20, meaning that that property is going to cost her 250,000 euros, which means she saved, just because she shopped around for a better exchange rate, 8,621 euros. And remember, there's also no international transfer fee involved because Heidi can transfer her euros directly into our Euro bank account in Frankfurt. All right, so we all know that exchange rates are extremely volatile, right? Even Elaine was talking about, remember the days when the Canadian dollar was at par, or how the rate from the Canadian dollar has fluctuated. As of this morning, we're about 0.82, as he referenced. But in 2020, we actually saw a lot of things that impacted the exchange rate. First and foremost, COVID. Can't go a day without mentioning that at this time. But we also had things like Brexit. We had a US presidential election, and all of these things affected global economies. So we actually saw the US dollar strengthen. But what that did is that caused a lot of Americans to consider investing abroad. So we've been extremely busy helping Americans at this moment in time purchase in the likes of France and Portugal. And we also saw, as a few of the other speakers have mentioned, an increase in foreign national sellers. They couldn't get here to use their properties. There's a high demand for those properties to be sold. And of course, with the dollar strength, it caused a perfect storm. It made too much sense for these clients to continue to hold on to those properties. So we saw sort of a mass exodus of foreign national owners selling off their Florida real estate properties. But in 2021, we're seeing global economies stabilize, and we're actually anticipating some weakening of the US dollar. So this, of course, will bring back the return of international investors as their currency strengthens against the US dollar. All right, so I'm just going to show you briefly about Tim. Tim is from the UK, and he's selling his home for $300,000. At some point, as I think Chris even mentioned, the title company is going to ask Tim, where would you like your US dollar proceeds to go? And this is a crucial point here. What we don't want the seller to tell the title company is for them to put their proceeds into their American bank. If this happens, there is a good possibility that the funds will actually get stuck here in the United States. We also don't necessarily want the seller to tell the title company, transfer my money back to my home bank in wherever that might be. And the reason there is because then the title company's bank, maybe Wells Fargo, Bank of America, whoever that may be, is going to take control of converting the currency, and they're going to get a really bad rate of exchange. So your seller is not going to end up what they rightfully deserve because they're going to get a poor rate of exchange. So the best thing to do is to instruct the title company to transfer the seller proceeds directly into their Money Corp account so that we can assist with converting those funds into, let's call it euros or pounds, at a far better rate of exchange. And in this instance here, we were able to achieve Tim 7,600 more British pounds by going this route as opposed to the others. So just make sure that you introduce your clients early on in the process so that when the title company is ready to ask that question, they can be prepared to give them the appropriate information and they don't run the risk of having funds stuck or getting a poor rate of exchange. And lastly, I'm not sure how I did on time. Hopefully I didn't go too far over, but there is my contact information. We do offer a referring partnership program. So by introducing your clients to Money Corp, if we're able to assist them, you do benefit from referral fees. But most importantly, we just want to make sure that your clients know that the bank is not necessarily the best option for them when transferring money internationally, and our team of experts are here to help. If you'd like to sign up for our daily rates, send me an email. I'd gladly get you signed up for those. And again, Q, thanks so much for having me here today.
All right, thank you so much, Kelly. All right, so moving on, we're going to go with Currency Direct, and we're going to be speaking with David. You're on mute.
There we go, perfect. So hopefully you can see my screen. Fabulous, honored to be here. Thank you very much for having me here. Just a big thanks to Julie, especially at Realtor Solutions, who I've known for 5 or 6 years now. I'm very fond of her and her company, and especially her first initiative, which I think we should all be getting on board. And definitely hearing great information from the likes of Kirsten. I've not met you yet, but my colleague Brian, he speaks very, very fondly of you. So it'd be great to get in touch with you in the future. Donut Day, obviously that's something that I came prepared for. I looked into the best donuts anywhere in the state of Florida, and according to Insider Magazine, they're from the Salty Donut, which is right here, actually opposite my yoga studio. So I managed to pick up some from the office this morning. Unfortunately, my pregnant wife, she found them on the countertop this morning and demolished them. So all I've got left now is some terrible Dunkin' Donuts in comparison. It's a crime. The Salty Donut is nowhere in the Southwest. So if anybody is interested in trying them, I've dropped in my contact information in the chat box. Feel free to send me a message, and then on my next visit down to the Southwest, I'll be sure to drop some for you. So Currencies Direct, we're obviously a large foreign exchange and international payments company, just like Money Corp. We've now got 24 offices in 4 continents and 24-hour customer service coverage. Last year, we traded just over $10 billion for our private clientele, and over 325 customers used our service. Our US office is in Orlando, Florida, where we do a very good job partnering with people in the real estate industry in order to get referrals. Banks, just like Kelly mentioned, are really the reason why our industry exists. In comparison to a bank, our rates are much better. The speed of our transfers is typically quite quicker. And the security that we have to have as an e-money firm means that we have to go above and beyond the insurances and the guarantees offered by banks. In addition to that, we do offer those risk management tools, which allow us not only to take advantage of positive rates in the market, but also to mitigate against risk as well. And what you'll find when you're looking into any company that you might be doing business with, always a good idea to check us out online. For example, on this website, Trustpilot, I think between ourselves and Moneycorp, we have somewhere over 11,000 reviews, and we're both rated excellent. So you know you're in good hands with a large international company like ours. Lots of our clients are very, very savvy. A lot of them are happy to kind of go it alone and use our information, our fintech, and do all of their stuff online. But typically, our customers aren't savvy. Sometimes it's an elderly couple selling a vacation home here in Florida. Sometimes it's somebody transferring their life savings to purchase a property here in Florida. And sometimes it's our job to help people get funds that might be trapped in a US bank, which can be a terribly concerning time for anybody who can't physically come into the country. So the primary pain point, I believe, is that a lot of the clients are very scared about sending a large chunk of money. So that's why our service is very, very human. We want to empathize with the client. We want to teach them about our industry and not tell them what's happening. And really, we don't do a lot of online advertising. We don't do a lot of pay-per-click advertising. We don't do a lot of Facebook referrals. What we're doing basically is partnering with individuals, with realtors, with title companies, with immigration attorneys, with shipping companies, anybody that has international clientele, in order to help them add this value to their clients. So again, lots of reasons to become a partner. I've just popped a little some information in the chat box where you can follow a link. You can read all about Currencies Direct, all of the benefits that you're going to receive as a partner of ours. It's completely free of charge. And obviously, we're going to be there to help not only give your clients lots of benefit, but also we're really important to us is helping you grow your international business as well, especially if you're brand new into the industry. You want some of our insights and the sort of things that we see. So personally, for me, I have a very hands-on role with all of my clients. They are referred to me. I'll speak to them. And just to give you a sort of insight into the things that I've been hearing when I've been talking to our clients on the phone, it's been really interesting to see what's been going on out there. And one of the main things, as Kelly alluded to, is lots of foreign sellers cashing in. So just some basic information that might get you fired up to look for listings or to look for foreign buyers and really get into this market. Just to give you an example, in 2011, if somebody from Canada, for example, was looking to buy a $200,000 property, you know, that was costing them just under 200,000 Canadian dollars to make that particular property purchase. Then, you know, 6, 7, 8 years later, now they're coming to repatriate their funds after owning a vacation home, for example. You know, once they're selling that property, even if they're only to clear the 200,000, you know, dollars that, you know, they initially put in, they're going to make a 25% increase on their investment, just purely because of the exchange rates moved in their favor. When you consider all of the people that owned a second home that couldn't get into the country, if you consider all of those people that own vacation homes that, you know, they couldn't rent out and perhaps they were losing money, that's why we saw a perfect storm in our industry of working with a lot of listing agents in order to get their people, their property sold, and then their funds repatriated. It for them was a phenomenal exchange rate. And when it comes to sort of foreign investment in the United States, another link that I put in the chat box there was from a report that should be due out again for this next year at the end of the month. And that's a report from the National Association of Realtors regarding transactions in US residential real estate. Look at how many people, how much money is being invested into this particular, into this country from overseas. Those numbers are huge. And what you have seen there is a tail off over the last few years because the US dollar was just so strong at the time that it really was off-putting to a lot of people that really dreamed about owning a property here in Florida. I think when we see the next results, we're going to see a bottoming out of the figures, because after that, I think we're going to see a huge business opportunity to attract foreign buyers to the United States again. Florida is always the #1 place that people are going to want to come to. And again, the clients that I speak to in the UK, Canada, Scandinavia, they've been miserable over the last 18 months. I think they are so ready to sort of like inject Florida into their veins that I think that you're going to find an increase of people in this area. And once the floodgates do open and those borders open, again, People realize they can work from home now, so they can come and spend winter months here in Florida. A huge opportunity for those people looking to buy. And interestingly, from the same National Association of Realtors report, what we can do as a foreign currency company is we can help save you time as well as your clients money. Because if you look at the obstacles for foreign buyers, these were realtors that actually said the reasons why international clients decided not to purchase a property. On there, 24% of claimants said that they couldn't sell a foreigner a property because the foreigner couldn't move the money. And a little bit further down that list, another factor was that they simply didn't have a good enough exchange rate in order to afford the property that they were looking to purchase. So again, using companies like ours that can save money, offer expertise and advice, and various products that are different from just transferring money on the same day, that can really help mitigate risk and can protect against any huge moves in the market moving forward. And again, another reason why I think it's been touched on more than once during the presentation, I really do see foreign buyers returning. This is just the change in currency value over the last 12 months. So a good friend of mine in Naples was telling me that the average property price now down there is $450,000. So just in terms of Canadians looking to buy here, they're saving 11% over this time last year. The same with the Brits and the Eurozone, not far behind. So not only have these people been festering away in a foreign country and dreaming about Florida, owning a property here, then of course they also have now the opportunity when the floodgates open to really get back in here and invest in Florida. So just some basic information there. I did actually time myself to make sure I was going to be within the 8 minutes. So spoke very quickly in my very regional accent. All of my information is on the screen there as well, as you'll see it in the chat box. Any questions, please free to let me know. And like I said, on the next visit to Southwest Florida, if you do want some salty donuts, please let me know.
Thank you so much. All right, so I know that we are pressed for time. We're actually over time. I want to thank you all for staying with us. I know that Elky with Allura, she had her presentation that she would like to give. And I also recognize that we have several questions in our chat box. So if we don't get to the Q&A, what I'm going to do is I'm going to send those questions to our panelists, allow them to reach out to you so you can be able to get those answers. But I'm going to go ahead and bring on Elky so she can give her presentation. Are you ready?
Hello, good morning. It's almost lunchtime. So last but not least, welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us today. I'm Elky with Allura International Tax Consulting. I'm the marketing director. So welcome. This is the first slide.
One second. Let me see here. This is not allowing me to.
We have technical problems today, Q.
Okay, if you don't mind that I can just share with our audience your presentation, I can send it to them. It's not coming full screen for whatever reason. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not coming full. It's not coming full screen. So
Is it coming? Is it coming at all? Is it coming up at all?
me a second. Okay, we're going to have to just send them the presentation if you don't mind. Is there anything that you would like to be able to share with our attendees?
This is okay. Okay, let's get, can you try Q? I start with the presentation. I have the presentation in front of me. Please try. So I think it's easier for the attendees to follow me and see that. I get started, but do me a favor and try it.
Okay.
So again, I'm with Hello International Tax Consulting. Welcome everyone. We are international tax consulting company specialized in helping all the international investors with their businesses and taxes here in the US. The CPA Marina Löffler is the owner of Allure International Tax Consulting since January 2006. And she has more than 20 years of experience in the tax industry in Germany and the United States. Our main office is located in Bonita Springs, and we have an office by appointment in Cape Coral and in Hamburg, as well as a partner office in Germany as well. We speak German, English, Spanish, Russian, Polish, Lithuanian, and currently looking to hire administrative assistants speaking Dutch and or French. We have 16 employees in 2 different time zones, hours of operations in the US, 8:30 to 5, and in Germany as well, but in Germany it's Central European time. We offer protected electronic data, document transfer, and video meetings. First client onboarding meeting is free of charge. So what first class office service do we offer? For individuals, it's US income tax preparation for foreign individuals generating income in the US as rental properties, investments, etc. US real estate transactions for foreign sellers and buyers. FIRPTA is the big word. Julie explained that already. We do that as well. Applications for US tax IDs, ITINs for foreign nationals. We do estate planning, estate tax planning for foreign nationals investing in the US estate tax preparation for deceased foreign nationals, US tax preparation for US citizens living abroad, US tax preparation for US expats as well. For businesses, it's formation and registration of corporations and LLCs, bookkeeping and payroll services, corporate and partnership US income tax returns. We offer business withholding tax returns for foreign partners and foreign shareholders. As well, we offer IRS tax audit representations for individuals and businesses. For the Department of Revenue, Sales and Use tax audit representations. We give support with visa applications and business plans. We offer free FIRPTA webinars to realty offices and title companies. We do that all the time. And we would like to do one with you, Don. We do that every time. So as well, we offer personal representative for estates of foreign nationals. So the contact information is in the presentation from the main office. I put my contact information in the chat box already, and Q will send you all the presentation. And ladies and gentlemen, never forget, life is more fun when the taxes are done by Allure International Tax Consulting. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Liked your ending. All right. So thank you all for joining us. Thank you, Elky, for sharing that information with us. I did have the PowerPoint up. I'm not sure if you were able to see it, but they were able to see your presentation. So because of time, I'm going to send the Q&A questions to our panelists, and maybe perhaps you can get back with them to answer some questions. And we are at 10:50, and I want to thank you all once again for joining us today and sharing your expertise. Once again, on behalf of Royal Palm Coast Realtor Association and the Global Business Council, we thank you all for your time and your knowledge for sharing with us, and our attendees for joining us today. Thank you all. Take care, and feel free to email or call our panelists. You have all the information on your agenda that was sent to you yesterday and this morning. Thank you all again.
Thank you all. Thank you. Take care.
Bye,
Happy
everyone.
weekend. Happy weekend.
Happy National Day.